My name is Jeremy, and I'm really glad I get to be here. I'm one of the leaders here at Center Church, and when Pastor Marcus, also to me known as my friend Marcus, also known as my brother-in-law Marcus, asked me if I would share this morning, I said, absolutely, and then I said, what in the world are you doing? I don't do this very often. I'm actually, I hope none of you run out, I'm actually in law enforcement, and currently, I'm a hostage negotiator. So if any of you guys feel like barricading yourselves in a room after this because of what I say, I'll be able to talk you out. It'll be great. And but I'm excited. I'm excited to share a little bit of just from my life what God's done in me, and hopefully it'll inspire you as we finish up this series on I'm Over It. And like I said, by the time we're done today, you're going to be over it too. What we're going to talk about is living a regret-free life. It's kind of heavy. I don't do heavy well. So it's going to be interjected with a lot of pointless jokes. Most of them will not be funny. I don't care. It makes me feel better, so just stick with me on it. I want to start with a story so we can get to know each other better and you'll get to understand a little bit about who I am and what I'm all about. About 16 years ago, if you were to meet me, just over 16 years ago, you would not recognize me because I was not the elite, fit, athlete type person you see before you today. This has taken years of work, folks, and I was about, I think, my wife will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm thinking I was about 50 pounds heavier then. We had just had our first son, Cameron, and I felt like it's not fair that a woman gains all the weight, so I wanted to support my wife, and I did, and put on some weight, and she lost hers, and I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. We worked so hard to gain it. Why are you losing it? And so I kept mine. And Marcus and I were actually pastors together at the time, and we were working in Los Angeles, California. Horrible place to visit, horrible place to live. And we were working at a church there, and we were on a retreat. We were going on a retreat. And so our wives came, and we left our brand new baby with my mom, which is another story because we had to store up a lot of milk. And I'm not going to talk about that. My wife would be uncomfortable. But we went out to Nevada. And then we spent some time on Lake Mead. And Lake Mead is a huge lake. And we had a boat, and we were out there, and we were as a group, as a whole staff. We were on this big jet boat, and we were having a blast. We were laughing. This boat was so small, there wasn't even, well, I say it was big, but it was small compared to how many of us. There wasn't even enough seats for all of us, and because I was the youngest and one of the newest on staff at the time, I sat on the bottom of the boat. That'll make sense here in a second. We come along this one part where there's a lot of cliffs along the edge of Lake Mead, and our pastor, his name was Luke, he said, you know what, this would be a great opportunity. We were in a series at the church called Getting Over the Fear Factor. It was based on the show Fear Factor. It was really popular back then. And so Luke said, we need to do some video footage of us getting over the fear factor. We should jump off those cliffs into the water. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea for you guys to do. You guys should do that. And he looked at me and said, Jeremy, will you do it? And his wife, who was much more fit than me, and she was all about health, stupid, but she was all about health. She's like, I'll do it. And then another lady from the staff, she said, oh, I'll do it. And now he's like, well, Jeremy, I'm like, okay, 2 women said they were gonna do it. Yeah, man, I'm in, let's do it. And so Marcus, he took the camera from the boat. This is what he said, oh, you know what, I'll just go ahead and film. Which to me was like, yeah, dude, you don't have what it takes. And so we got out of the boat, we swam to the shore, and we got up on the first part. And I thought, looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a 10, 15-foot jump. It's not a big deal, I got this. I recognized very quickly that I'm horrible at judging heights. It was like a 40-foot jump. I had never jumped off of any cliff. I didn't even like the high dive. And we started to climb. And we continued to climb. And after about 6 hours, we made it to the top of that cliff. And I immediately regretted the decision I had made. But now I'm at a point where these 2 women are like, we got this, let's go, woo! woo, and they like no splash, they just land perfectly. And it's my turn. And I look over the edge and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. Here I go. And I remember yelling, "This is for Cameron." He wasn't even there. He couldn't even understand me. He was like 6 weeks old, but I'm like, it gave me power. And so I jump, and on entry, I really regretted it because no one had ever taught me how to jump from 40 feet into the water. And I landed in a sitting position. O is correct. I hit the water, and as I went under, I didn't want to come back up, and I screamed under the water. I screamed. I went in literally sitting. I did spit water. You can figure that out for yourself. And I came up, but everybody's watching me, and I think all of them went, "Oh," too. And I came up, and I'm like, you can't act like anything is wrong. You're fine. You got this. So I'm like, they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, good." And so got into the boat, and you know what's so great about the people we were with? Nobody gave me their padded seat. I still had to sit on the base of that boat, and we hit wakes. And every one of them I felt in a way that I'd never dreamed possible. It was really so bad. As a matter of fact, the truth is I actually compacted my spine in that jump. I didn't know it at the time. I tried to sleep it off at the hotel, and it was all guys in one hotel room and all girls in the other hotel room. And the guys literally told me I was crying out for my mother in the middle of the sleep. And to the point at which I had Lindsay, I said, "Babe, we gotta go. I've gotta get to a hospital." And so she drove me, I think we left in the middle of the night. She drove me all the way back to Los Angeles so that I could get to the hospital. I was on my back for 2 weeks. I got to watch the video later. And my brother-in-law, so supportive. As I'm climbing up the hill, he looks at my sister, who's also in the boat, also supportive, and says, "I'm a little concerned about your brother doing this. He's not a small boy." That's all I got. That's all I got. But here's the thing, we've all done things we're not proud of, right? All of us. So it's time. I confess, it's time for mass confession. How many of you in this room have something you've done that you regret? Raise your hand. Yeah, everyone. Look around, you're not alone. Anyone who didn't raise their hand, they're a liar. And they're gonna regret lying later because this message is really good. But here's the truth. We can laugh off some of what we've experienced. We can laugh it off. There are also those serious moments of regret. I have some of those serious moments of regret too. So do you. We all do. There's things we look back on and wish we could change them. Wish they hadn't happened. Things that hurt, things that make us sad. Whether they're parenting mishaps, I've got those. Relationship mishaps, I've got those. Business mishaps, whatever. We all have things that regret. And so before we move too far, I want to take a moment and I want to show you something that's going to make you feel a lot better because you're not alone. We've all had lapses in judgment. And if you're down, I want you to realize it actually could be worse. You could be this guy. That's a tattoo you wish you didn't do. If you're not getting it, regrets is spelled with an E, not an A. All right. Okay, we call that a grenade joke. Like you pull the pin, you throw it, and 5 minutes later, you all get it. But seriously now, I want you to think through this year. Has there been a time where you wish you could have a fresh start? Maybe it's a career fresh start. Maybe a do-over in a conversation. Maybe a fresh start with a credit card or a diet. Maybe a relationship fresh start. Maybe even a fresh start in your relationship with God. You're not alone. All of us have something that we wish we could just start over. We all do. And my biggest hope for you today is that you'll receive this very, very important truth. And I believe as we go through this, not only can you understand this truth, but you can begin to apply it to your life. And that is, it's never too late to have a fresh start with God. Never. Never. You ever see those Tide laundry commercials? Like, it's always new and improved. Do you know Tide has been new and improved since I was a kid? It's constantly like, it's new, it's improved. You should get it. Last week, that was old. This is new and improved. Get it now. It comes in capsules. It's new and improved. Everything's new and improved. It's a marketing ploy. It's just a marketing thing. They're constantly new. They're constantly improving because they need you to buy more of it. Here's the thing. With God, that's not a marketing statement. God wants you to have a new and improved life. He has not just the want to, he doesn't just desire it, he's actually able to give it to you. And more importantly than just being able, he's willing to give it to you. God wants to give you a new and improved, fresh start on life. I want you to read the scripture in Isaiah. For I am about to do a brand new thing. See, I've already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness for my people to come home. I will create rivers for them in the desert. God's in the business of new beginnings. He's in the business of moving past pain, guilt, insecurity, brokenness. And his promise he makes to Isaiah is the same promise that he wants to make to you today, is he wants to start a new thing in you. Today, we're going to look at more from Isaiah. He had an incredible encounter with God. He had a vision that dramatically impacted his life. He saw God as God truly is. In Isaiah chapter 6, we get this descriptive picture of God in all his majesty, in his holiness. He shows us this is the God of the universe. This is the God that we've already begun worshiping this morning. It's the God that wants to be the God over everything in our life. He wants us to start living without regret. And what happens to Isaiah is what should happen to us when we begin worshiping God. Isaiah looks upon the glory of God and he realizes in the most bold and starkest terms ever, he's nothing like God. And that's what should happen to us as we worship. We should recognize, man, we are not like him. We are not like him. He says, I'm a sinful man. I got issues. I am kind of jacked up. God is perfect. I am far from it. That's what happens to Isaiah. So in order for us to move forward out of regret into hope, we have to learn some things that Isaiah is going to teach us today in Isaiah 6. We have to act on some things. Let's read this together. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphs, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 wings they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. And at the sound of their voices, the doorposts and the thresholds shook as the temple was filled with smoke. I love this, what Isaiah says. He says, woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among people of unclean lips. And my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Then one of the seraphs flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. With it, he touched my mouth and said, see, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin is atoned for. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. Here's a guy with a radical encounter with God, an awesome God. He looked, and what was his immediate response? What does he immediately recognize? His own inadequacies, his own imperfections. I was on a call once for a bank robbery, and I was a street cop at the time. Now I'm a party planner for the sheriff's department. Long story. But this bank robbery happens, and we think we have the man surrounded. He robbed the bank, he ran out, and went into an apartment complex. We saw him where he had taken off his sweatshirt to try and change his look, and he had left money on the ground, so we knew we had him. We had surrounded this apartment complex for 40 minutes. Our helicopter was overhead, and the helicopter says across the street, close to the bank, but across the street on the other side of town, they see a man who seems to be peculiar, standing out. They asked for one of us to go check on him. Nobody answers up. I said, I'll go. No big deal. My partner says to me, you want me to go with you? I'm like, nah, there's no way it's the guy. Why would he be coming back? We got our guy right here. We got him. No big deal. So I head across town and I see the man that they're talking about. I say to him, hey, I got to talk to you real quick. He says, I didn't do anything. By the way, whenever you tell a cop I didn't do anything, you probably did. And so I said, oh, I know you didn't. Yes, you did. I just need to clear you for a second. I grab his hands because I'm going to pat him down to make sure he doesn't have his weapons. As soon as I pat him down, as soon as I grab his hands, I feel him tense up. And I know this is about to be a fight. And so I have to make a decision. Do I let go of his hands with both hands so I can grab my cuffs? I'm going to have to. So I grab my cuffs. As soon as I do, he lets go with one hand. He pulls free with one hand, and he takes a swing at me. He misses, thank God, because this beautiful face can't take that. I grab him and I get him into a headlock and I slam him against a car. His head pops out and he begins to run. I give chase because for whatever reason, that's what we do. We just chase things. I mean, if you run, we're going to chase. I should have just let him go. I mean, what's a few $1,000s to the bank? I chase him. These are things that we think later. I chase him. I shoot him with my taser. He pulls it out. Another sign, this isn't going to go well for me. We get into a physical altercation. I catch up to him. I get into a physical fight with him. We begin to fight. He begins to say, what am I doing? I keep saying, you're fighting. Stop doing that. Stop resisting. What am I doing? He reaches into his pants, and I think he's reaching for a weapon, and I can't reach my gun. So the only thing I have is a pen, and I think I'm going to have to stab this man with my pen or autograph something for him. But I don't do that. At some point, I actually miss him as I'm swinging at him, and I break my elbow. I didn't realize it was broken at the time, and I lose my balance over the top of him, and he gets on top, and he doesn't run. Most people, when we chase them, they typically run. I'm used to guys like running away if I can't catch them. They don't want to get into a fight. They want to get away, but he doesn't. He stays. He's on top of me, and I'm trying to cover my gun because I'm out of breath. I'm winded. We've just been in a really long chase and a big fight. And I'm winded. And I begin to see my kids in my mind. And I don't think I'm going to make it home today. As he stands on top of me, he's getting ready to take a swing. A citizen in my town, and if you knew what city I lived in, you'd be shocked that this happened. I believe it was God. Citizen yells to startle him. Says, what are you doing? A couple other expletives, but I won't share those in church. He stops just long enough for me to pop up to reach for my gun and to point it at him, and he runs away. We actually catch him later, but I go to the hospital, I'm broken. It was one of the scariest moments in my career. I made some assumptions and I ended up with a whole lot of regrets. The biggest regret actually came about 6 months later at an award ceremony where I was asked to be a part of an award ceremony where they gave a citizen in the county of San Diego an award for saving a cop's life. That's a real ego shot. After that event, I began to question everything. I began to question everything I did. What am I walking into? Can I handle it? Do I have what it takes? What if this person does this? What will I do? I walked with a lot of fear on my job, which is the one thing you can't do as a cop. It really impacted me, and it left me with a lot of pain, a lot of fear, and a lot of regret. So how do you move forward from that? I'm still a cop today. I'm a party planner. That's one of the things I did. But how do you move forward from regret? I'm going to give you 5 things real quick. Number 1, pinpoint my regret. Pinpoint my regret. There's regret and pain in all of our lives. All of us have it. But in order to get past it, you have to pinpoint where it started. You have to pinpoint what it actually is. What was the origin? Isaiah says this in verse 1. He says, in the year King Uzziah died. The most significant changes in our lives often follow a significant pain. That event for me represented significant pain. And some of the biggest changes in our life come from there. Death isn't always physical. Maybe your death is the death of a dream. Maybe it's the death of a relationship, a divorce. Maybe it's the waste of an opportunity, lingering memories, hurts. Maybe your death is a regret from apathy that you've lived with most of your life. I just wish my life was more than it is today. Death. It's not coincidence that Isaiah mentions Uzziah's death at the very beginning of this, because death is often a marker. Pain is a marker in our lives for regret. Whatever it is, I'm confident you've got regret somewhere, but you've got to pinpoint the pain for a fresh start. I've noticed a lot of people try to walk past their pain. A lot of people we say things like, it's no big deal. That's in the past. The past is done. I'm really big at this one. It is what it is. It is what it is. It happened. It's over. We've got to move on. And the truth is the past. But if you don't identify where that regret is coming from, if you don't pinpoint that part in your past, the past will repeat itself and it will become your present. It's so important that we pinpoint it. Pain points are markers in our lives. But until we take the first step to pinpoint them, they will always be a source of regret and pain. But I want you to know something. Write this down. God doesn't bring life's pain to us. He's waiting for us to bring pain to him. When you bring your pain to God, God takes that pain marker and he uses that same point. It doesn't go away. The past is still there. It is what it is. The past is the past. However, it stops symbolizing pain and it starts to represent the time that healing began. It starts to represent the hope that God can give. So we've got to start by pinpointing the source of your regret. Second, you need to identify my source. Identify my source. What is my source for moving forward? Isaiah 6:1-3 says, I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted, and the train of his robe filled the temple. And they were calling to one another, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. Marcus talked a couple weeks ago about America's fantasy of self-help and how it actually tethers us to a sense of pride in our lives because we believe we've got this. I can fix this. Everything on my own. I can do it. It's that whole I got this mentality. I am enough. I can solve my own problems. But when we identify our source properly, that it is God who is high and exalted, not us. He is magnificent, not us. Apart from him, I can do no good thing. When we begin to check ourselves that we don't just need another good conference to go to, we don't just need another good self-help book, there's no secret there. It's not gonna fix it by reading the book. Dr. Phil, Oprah, whoever it is, when it's not in them, but it's actually in God, that's when healing can begin. That's when healing can begin. Isaiah's vision of God is essentially telling us that it's all because of God. It's all because of God. He's the source. He's the reason I don't want to waste my life. He's the reason I need to change. He's the reason I want to change. He's the reason I'm empowered to change. He's the reason that I can refuse to settle for a mediocre, average, pain-filled life. It's him. Even this very second, the inhabitants of heaven are praising God for his omnipotent power, for what he can do that we can't do. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. So if I want a fresh start, I've got to pinpoint my pain, where it started. I've got to recognize that my source is God. And then 3, I've got to look in the mirror. Got to look in the mirror. Look at me. Isaiah 6:5, woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Essentially, Isaiah writes this. Here's Jeremy's translation. God is holy, I'm a dirtbag. It's loose. It's a loose translation, but that's what he's saying. God is holy, I'm not. Woe to me, I'm ruined. When I look at myself in the light of God's glory, I'm going to look very pale in that mirror. When you see God in high definition, you recognize that at the end of the day, you've got a face for radio. So do I. So do I. Have you ever seen those magnifying mirrors? My mother-in-law, she's here. She uses those magnifying mirrors. Have you ever looked in one? Hey, dudes, if you're a dude in the room, stay away from them because most of us, we just looked at our face on the way out the door to make sure there wasn't jelly left from the donut. We're not even paying attention. But those magnifying mirrors, they show you all the flaws. It is disgusting what's going on up in here, right? They reveal those ugly blemishes. They show us the stuff. I really don't understand why women use them, but they do. When I look at a normal mirror, I'm like, hey, not that bad. A lot of good going on there. Even when I see a few blemishes, I'm like, yeah, but that's just what makes me unique. That's like my Julia Roberts mole, right? So let me show you this. I'm gonna give you an example here. So when I look in the normal mirror, this is kind of what I see. Can you put that up for me? Yeah, just me, it's good. And a lot of times what a lot of us do is we compare ourselves to other things so that we feel even better. So like I'm not as bad as this guy. Can you, yeah, see, I look good. I look really good. And since it's Halloween season, I'm compared to this guy, I've got no issues at all. That's what a lot of us do. It's why so many people end up on American Idol that shouldn't be on there because they're comparing themselves to even worse singers. But then my wife gave me some examples of why I'm not really being honest with myself, because when I compare myself to this guy, it changes a little bit. Suddenly I start to see all my flaws and I start comparing myself to the flawless, like this guy right here. By the way, women, if you're nodding your head, yes, your husband is angry. So go ahead and, yeah, you can take that down. I'm sick of that guy. But obviously I'm joking here, but that's what we do. We decide to only when we don't look at ourselves compared to the right thing, we miss it. We miss it. But when we're faced with the awesomeness of God, we realize the truth about our own imperfections. When we really put ourselves up face to face with God, it's like looking in that magnifying mirror and we see how much we actually need him because we are nothing like him. We are not like him. He is perfect and we are flawed. Truly seeing God's holiness, it's kind of painful at times. Woe to me. Man, it's like Isaiah saying, ooh, that hurts. Make it stop. I'm seeing all the things that are going on deep within me, not on the surface, but deep within me that are not good, that are not right. Woe to me, make it stop. But this is an important step of getting past the past because you have to recognize what you're actually looking like. You have to see what you're actually holding on to, what that pain is doing to you, what that past is doing to you. You have to see how it's hurting you deep within. You have to recognize it's not all okay. It's not all good. Everybody's holding on to something and we wish we could set it down. And in order to set it down, you've got to take a look in the mirror and be honest with yourself about it and what it's doing to you. Number 4, you got to let go of regret. You have to let it go. This may seem like an easier step said than done. It's harder to walk this one out, to let go of it. But we've got to let go of the things that have broken us in the past. Regret brings shame. It brings embarrassment. It brings anger, grief, resentment. It brings past into our present. What we need is an experience like Isaiah had, a life-altering encounter with God. That's the best way to let go of regret. We have to have an encounter with God like Isaiah did. In Isaiah 6:7, he says, he touched my mouth and said, see, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin is atoned for. You need to hear me today. Your sin is paid for. Whatever it is that you're holding on to, God's dealt with it. Because he is so perfect, he can. Because he is so good, he can. And because he is so in love with you, he will. And he already has. You just have to accept it and let it go. Your sin's paid for, it's gone. If you'll just let God touch you where you're hurting the most, he'll do it for you. He'll do it. What I love about God, and I was talking to my family about this, what I love about God is he knows exactly what we need, and he knows exactly how to do it if we'll just let him. Back in the day, leprosy was a big deal, right? It was a skin disease, and people would, literally their skin would just deteriorate, and it was very, very contagious, and they had to walk around with a bell on their neck, and it would ring, so when they came into town, people would see them, and the first thing they would do is put their mouth over their hand over their mouth, and their other hand out, and they'd yell, unclean, unclean, unclean. If you were a leper, you were ostracized. You were ostracized. Imagine the pain that felt, no human connection. There's a story in the Bible. This is free. It's not in your notes. There's a story in the Bible of a leper, and he comes to Jesus, and Jesus says, Jesus sees him. He's a leper. You can't miss it, right? Because they're literally, pieces of them are falling off. And Jesus decides to heal this leper. And here's what is amazing and what I love about God is he knows what you need. He could have thought it. Jesus could have been like, and he was healed. He could have said it. He could have spoken and he was healed. He could have said it from a distance, you're healed. But what does Jesus do? If you look in the story, what Jesus does is he reaches out and he touches the leper. Because God knows exactly what you need. That man hadn't felt physical touch probably most of his adult life. And so God doesn't just heal him, he goes above and beyond and he touches him right where his pain's at. It wasn't the skin disease, it was the lack of connection. God wants to have that kind of an encounter with you. If you'll be honest and you'll say, God, this is where I hurt, that's right where he'll heal. That's right where he'll heal. That's what he does. Psalm 32:5 says, finally I confessed all my sins to you, and I stopped trying to hide them. I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord, and you forgave me. All my guilt is gone. Isn't that good news? When finally I decide to just say, God, this is how it is, that's when he sweeps in and goes, great, I got it. Great, I got you. That's all I was waiting for. I was just waiting for you to say you wanted it and I'll do it. That's an encounter with God. It's all gone when we ask him to take it. Psalm 103 says, praise the Lord, I tell myself, and never forget the good things he does for me. He forgives all of my sins, and he heals all of my diseases. He ransoms me from death and surrounds me with love and tender mercies. He fills my life with good things. God is a life filler, and he wants to put an incredible gift in your hand today, but he can't until you set it down. You have to let go of regret so he can give you the filled life that you long for. So start letting go. Number 5, say yes to God. Once you've accepted the fullness, the full forgiveness of God and set down the heaviness of your guilt, there's always a God invitation for a bigger life than you have. Here's God's sequence. You set down the old so you can pick up the new. You set down the broken, you get to pick up the healed. You set down discouraged, and he fills you with hope. You set down death, and God gives you life. That's God's sequence. God has an amazing plan for each of your lives. Every single one of you, he's got a mission, a cause, a purpose. Every single person in this room. He's just asking you if you'll join him and waiting for you to say yes to him. Look at this again, at the sequence and how it happens for Isaiah. Then I heard a voice from the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And what does Isaiah say? He says, and who will go for us? And Isaiah says, here I am, send me. When you set down regret, you say yes to God, a whole world of opportunity opens up for you. A life filled with hope. The question is, will you say yes? Yes, God, send me to do your work. Yes, God, send me to do your will. Yes, send me to be your person, to be the man of God in my career, in my family, to be the woman in my career, my family. Whatever your purposes are, yes, God, just send me. I believe when you apply these 5 things to your life with radical abandon, you will see a life that is no longer filled with regret, but it's filled with hope. And it's bigger than you could ever dream possibly before it. Will you pray with me? God, I pray today for every single individual in this room that's been living with regret. Maybe they know you, maybe they don't. But either way, God, if they're living with regret, I pray that today that they would pinpoint it. That God, they would recognize you are their source. That Jesus, they would just set down regret and say yes to you. God, I ask that today you would do a work, that we would have a radical encounter with you like Isaiah did. I want to just ask with every head bowed, nobody looking around. Today, maybe you're a believer, but you need to take a step, one of these 5 things, and you say, I've got some regrets that I need to set down. If that's you today, I'm just going to ask you right where you're at, just lift your hand so I can pray for you. No one else is looking around. Yeah, hands everywhere. Yep, hands everywhere. Yeah, I see those. Awesome. Today, maybe you don't have a relationship with Jesus. And maybe it needs to start for you by just saying yes to God, I want a relationship. Maybe number 5 is your number 1. I want you to know that the minute you ask Jesus into your life is the minute he begins that healing work. He's waiting. The Bible says he stands at the door of your heart and he just knocks like a gentleman waiting. He's just waiting for you to answer the door. And today you say, man, I have lived with regret and I need this Jesus in my life. If you need to give your life to the Lord and just start that relationship with him. Again, no one's going to look around. No one's going to embarrass you. Would you just lift your hand and I'll pray for you? Awesome. Awesome. I see that here. Awesome. I see that. Yep, I see that. God, for every single person in this room, I pray that you would do exactly what you promised to do and start that life fresh and new. God, that regret would be replaced with hope, that broken would be replaced with healing, God. God, as quickly as we asked, you forgave. And so, Lord, I know that relationship begins now. So, God, from this point forward, continue to fill with hope and purpose and that bigger life you promised. And we thank you for it. In your name.